Welcome to Flipping Miami, a podcast for those who want to learn real estate investing, do more, and make more. Now, here is your host, Raul Bolufe.
All right, guys, welcome. Thanks for listening in. This is Flipping Miami by Raul Bolufe. Today, we got Gary Boomershine. I hope I said that right. We got Gary on the other side of the screen here, CEO, owner of REIvault. He's been a real estate investor, and he's done probably some of the most creative deals I've heard of. We had a really long conversation about it once. But, man, Gary's an awesome dude, owns a great company, and just an all-around good guy. So, yeah, I want to intro him. Pretty much needs no introduction, but I want to intro him and kind of ask a couple questions, see if we can get some value and how we can help people. So, Gary, man, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Man, this is super excited. It's always a pleasure, Raul. I know we were hanging out in boardroom, and it's like we just total, like, you know, it's like when you hang out with guys that have the same, like, that's what I love about hanging out in masterminds in our small niche, because it's like-minded guys. You know, we're trying to like build a real business, a scalable business, also have a lifestyle and some financial freedom, right?
Yeah.
And everybody, you know, you sit there and you watch the late night TV commercials, and it's like, make money and become rich. And it's like, in reality, you know, there's some work and there's stucks, and a lot of stucks that we have. I'm looking at your backdrop. If everybody's watching the video here, he's got the VTO. I'm like, that's called a vision tracker. That's totally from Traction.
Yep.
But, you know, hanging out with like-minded guys like yourself, like Sean Terry, Kent Clothier, it inspires me, and I love giving value. So, man, pick my brain, and hopefully for all your loyal listeners, I can deliver some really good stuff today.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I remember we were having a couple glasses of wine talking about like business, lifestyle, and then one of the times I think we're like in the pool area or the spa area, we're talking about like some creative deals you had done. So we'll touch a little bit on that. But I guess real quick, just intro yourself on like what you have going on today, and I guess brief us on how you started. I know you started, you know, a couple years back, but how you started and what you got going on today.
Yeah. So been doing this business. You know, it's funny because I guess I have a term. Anybody that's like pre-2008 that's been around and, you know, kind of a personality, you know, a person that people follow or whatever. I don't know. Nobody knows me in my town. It's like nobody even knows I do real estate. So it's funny. But they call me an OG, which is the original gangster, right?
I love that.
I did full-time real estate. I started in 2004. So I quit my job. My wife and I, I was probably like so many people, burnt out, wanted to, you know, didn't have a life, and started, you know, real estate. It was actually Robert Kiyosaki. His book specifically around the idea of passive income, like the definition of wealthy, right, is when your passive income is greater than your expenses. So passive income being mailbox money that you stop doing stuff today, and I'm like, you know what, hon, this is what I want to do, and I just got to get out of the rat race. So 2004, May 17th, burned the ships, did it full time. Got, just through the grace of God, our first deal, we made a ton of money. We made $181,000.
Wow.
I made a lot of mistakes, but, you know, this business has been really good to me. And today, fast forward, I do a lot of private lending. I love wholesaling, and I don't really do any rehabs or fix and flip. I think the market is, you know, if you can control the deal flow right now, meaning if you can get the sellers, you know, you're really calling the shots. So I focus on finding sellers. We're really good at it. I've got a service called REIvault. I can talk a little bit about that. We are the largest marketer in the space. We've done I tell everybody 34 million pieces of direct mail. I think it's probably closer to 36 or 37 million pieces. And we've done over 1 million outbound seller cold calls for a group of us. So I run a service that does that. And, you know, I love this space. I love talking about what works, but the market's different, man. The more, you know, you're in Florida, the market is different, and people need to realize that what worked a couple years ago is different. So it's more competitive. by the way, this is very cyclical. So what we're seeing today is what we would call the euphoric stage of real estate. It means that real estate's a cycle. We're kind of, hey, when you go and you go to the barber and you go into the hair salon and they're all talking about real estate, you kind of know that we might be at the tail end of the cycle. And so, you got to be careful this cycle. And if you're rehabbing and you're betting on the come, you may actually run into you may be kind of a high risk candidate when the market turns. And so it's also more competitive. You got to change what's working and adjust. But those people that do it are making a fortune right now, right?
Yeah, no, Gary, it's crazy because you've been around for a while. You've been doing it. And I know you started on like some creative stuff, and then now you're doing a lot of mail and other things. And we'll talk about REIvault later, 'cause I think it's an awesome company and the concept is really cool. But I kind of like selfishly want to ask you. So I started in 2012. So I wasn't an OG. I'm a new G, I guess. NG. But what would you tell? So I've been, I joined these masterminds and I have mentors who've been through the crash, and I'm taking all their advice. I took a lot of your advice when I had a couple of properties, and we'll go into that. But I guess like, what would you tell someone like me that we started post crash, had some success, or maybe I'm seeing some success now? Like, what would you tell us kind of right now, 2019, we're in that euphoric stage? Like, what's next for us? Like, what should we really like? What is that? Those couple pieces of advice that we should keep in mind?
Yeah. So and I don't have a crystal ball, right?
Right.
So I'm not saying that I've got any unique,
Insider
I'm
information.
not like a psychic or whatever. But here's the thing: real estate's been a cycle. It's a 7-year cycle. It's been that 7-year cycle for over 100 years.
It's crazy.
Almost, by the way, almost to the day. 2001, 2008.
No way.
7 years before that. We're at like almost year 10.
So we're due.
Yeah, we're due. And actually a correction would be good, the market's just been hot. Everybody's talking real estate. It has a lot of the same signs. And I'm not talking about like, the bank failures like the last time necessarily, but you got the late night TV guys. Everybody's talking real estate. Seminars are like crazy.
Coaches everywhere.
Coaches everywhere, right? And then everybody's, everybody used to be buying foreclosures, and then it moved to like nobody talked about direct mail. Nobody did cold calling. That's called off market. So now all of a sudden everybody's focused on off market. Even like, all the secrets that all of us were doing, they're now actually any of the even Dean Graciosi is like talking about. Chris and I saw our postcard that Dean actually had. Hey, here's the magic postcard. It's like, I love Dean.
Oh yeah, the postcard that Chris Chico wrote, right?
Yeah, it was like, and then all of a sudden, that was so what worked back then. So anyway, the point is, without belaboring it, is the real estate market is cyclical. We're seeing pressure everywhere. The profits that we were making a couple years ago are shrinking. We're seeing sellers, more competition,
right?
More people jumping into real estate. The idea that you could be an order taker and just send out direct mail and close some deals off of the first call is over. Everybody, it's over. The leads haven't changed, but there's more competition. The sellers are catching up. They're looking at, they have unreasonable expectations. What that means is you've got to be better at sales. So you can't just be an order taker. You have to basically be better. What that means is you're following up with your leads a lot more. The people that are doing it are crushing it, by the way. There are still high 7-8 figure people, but you have to change up. Direct mail and RVM and cold calling still work just as well, but you've got to be really tight on your process. A lot of people, what happens is they go out looking for fairy dust. They're like, they're like, I call it plankton, right? Wherever they're every day, they're like moving from left to right, and I call it also 3 feet from gold. They get so close, and then they move and they shift, right. And they're not running a real business. Running it as a real business And it's not about the new little mail. There is no secret mail list, by the way, everybody. There's no secret postcard. It's volume, and then it's what's the cost per deal and what's your ROI. Here's what I know about wholesaling. Typically in most markets, you used to get a 6-to-1 ROI. Spend $1, make 6. Takes 90 days. And then if you're really good at it, you'll make even more. Right now, the average is spend $1, make $3.50.
Yep, that's what we're at right now, exactly, actually.
And everybody, that's a phenomenal ROI.
Huge.
It's huge. It's like, imagine the bank has a sale, and you have $1, and if you take $1 in to the bank, you'll get $3.50 out, or a $5 bill, or $10 out. You just sign me up. You have a wheelbarrow. But most people, they're just like, they're saying, oh, it doesn't work, so they're trying something else. $3.50. That's about it. Everybody should be making that return. $3.50. If you're not, then you actually have to talk to the sellers. That's usually the problem that I'm seeing. And then if you're refining it, then you should get back to the spend $1, make 5, make 6, make 7. I think people should be watchful right now doing rehabs, especially if their profits are shrinking. And I think retail is going to have pressure. But down the road, we're going to see when there's a little bit of a market correction, the people that stick around and make it through it are going to make an absolute fortune. And also, all of us should ultimately be buying property and holding property long term. Because there's going to be inflation in the U.S. too. So we're going to see, like, everybody today, we're going to look back in 10 years saying, man, I wish I held that property, because we're going to see massive inflation. When there's inflation, then you want to basically be able to hold at least a couple properties. You know Dave Dodge? Dave Dodge, he's a wholesaler, but he's out of St. Louis. Super good guy, young guy too. Anybody less than 50? No, he's Dave Dodge. I'm in a couple of masterminds with him, but he says keep the best, sell the rest. And I know you do that too, man, right? Yeah. Keep the best, sell the rest. So if you can buy the right property, keep it. If you can cash flow it, keep it. If you can hold it and sustain a downturn. And
that's awesome. Yeah. So like, it's good that you shared that, because I'm sure you do too. You talk to a lot of like newer people, or even people who are already doing deals, but they're like, okay, I hear so much about this market correction. We don't know when it's happening. So like, what do I do? Do I stop doing mail? Do I keep doing deals? Do I, start doing Bitcoin instead? Like, people are like having like all these things, right? And basically what we're getting at is continue to do this business, just do it right, which is become really good at marketing and sales. And if you're really good at marketing and sales, you'll get about a 3 or 3.5 to 1 on direct mail. For our business right now, we're getting like a 6 to 1 on cold calling. I don't know what you guys are. Are you guys around there?
It depends on the market. It totally depends on the market. And a lot of markets, yes. The number of leads, by the way, very similar. We're finding that it takes a little longer to close the cold call leads. But yes, we actually have a new cold call service, by the way.
Cool.
I could talk about that. $1,500 a month for somebody that's working 6 days a week, cold calling. So we can actually, that's been working pretty darn well. But you're still going to get about 40 leads. You're going to get 40 leads passed over to close about 1. So people are not like, even these, you cold call this, the sellers are still like, they still take work.
Yeah. That's actually, we did the numbers literally earlier today, and we were at 30. In cold call, we're at 44 to 1. And it's taking us 12 in-person appointments from cold calling to get a deal. It also depends on how good you are at sales and your process and stuff. And but I just wanted to share these numbers because you were kind of going back and forth. And I know I remember when you gave that PowerPoint presentation in one of the masterminds, I was impressed because you're the only one that really put like all the numbers on there. Like, hey, out of all these pieces of mail, this is what you expect, 3 to 1, 3.5 to 1, 5 to 1, da da da. So, and I think like the people listening, if you guys are really interested in doing deals or really want to do more deals, these numbers that we're sharing right now, that Gary's sharing, is like it's like gold. Like this is like, you've tested this with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars and you get these numbers. So it's like an expectation already in your mind to be able to, all right, now you understand if you do mail correctly, your goal expectation is 3.5 to 1 right now.
You know, if you're sitting there and like, I just do this thing 10 times, okay? If like, let's say you want to drop 30 pounds, and you know that for 30 days, I'm going to drop a pound a day. All I have to do is X, Y, and Z for 30 days. It's a lot easier, right? Knowing that if I do this, I get this.
Yeah.
And so that's why the numbers, this is a numbers game. 100%. So everybody that's following this, it's like, you know, I have videos out there, and some people still, because they want I think everybody wants to go to bed broke and wake up rich and do nothing, right? And so do I. We really don't want it. But in reality, it's like there's a success formula. Tony Robbins says, success leaves clues. So find the success formula. And the success formula is, you know, it's a numbers game, and it's 12 connections. And I find it, by the way, 5 to 12 interactions with the seller. So I tell everybody, all leads suck. Assume if yourself, and if you've got a sales team, just assume the leads suck. All leads suck. It doesn't matter. That, by the way, every business is the same. It's just, right? You're not going to find, we call them bluebirds. If the seller happens to call in off of a mailer and they say, come over and buy my house today, that's a bluebird. That's not very often. That's less than 3% of the time, right? And if you're running your business, you've left 97% of the profit on the table. So all you have to do is just realize, hey, I just have to call that guy another time and another time and another time. And, you know, and if you're doing this right, you have somebody else do it for you. Yeah. Right.
All leads suck. I love that. Especially when you're growing a team, just from the beginning, from when you hire them, yo guys, don't tell me this ever, but all leads suck, right? Like, don't come into my office telling me that leads suck, because I know they suck. I've called them, I've spoken to them, I've been on appointments, and it's not like an ego thing, or it's not like I'm better than you or I know more. It's just like, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
The leads suck, especially in this market that it's a seller's market, right? There's, you know, simple supply and demand curve, and, you know, I love that philosophy.
Just get on the phone. There's no perfect words, by the way, to say to the seller. It's a relationship business. Be real. I mean, more than anything, just be real, and don't be a schmuck, and don't be like, you know, desperate to buy their house and, you know, scumbag. It's like, have integrity and get on the phone and just, you know, I always tell everybody, hey, all you have to do is just, you know, I meet with the seller, or my sales team will meet with the seller, and it's like, hey, I do this full time. I don't know if I'm the perfect buyer for your house. I probably am not even going to be the highest offer, but let me tell you some of the stuff that I might be able to do that nobody else can. And if I'm not the buyer, I'll give you all my paperwork and my details, so maybe it helps you, you know, make a better decision. That's my style, and I win a lot of deals. And so you just come in, you meet with the seller. You know, don't force. A lot of people are trying to make that offer like really fast. It's like, it's an emotional decision, and realize, you know, you're going to probably have a little bit of rejection a couple of times. I have the rule of no, 3 no's equal a yes. So I get excited. I teach my sales team to get excited for a seller to say no. It's kind of like Dumb and Dumber. Do you remember the movie Dumb and Dumber? It's like, what do you think my chances are? Like 1 in 1,000? And she's like, more like 1 in 1,000,000. And he's like, so you're telling me I got a chance, right? Like, you have to just assume, because I get nervous. If I get a yes, I probably am paying too much for the house, or something's wrong, right? So just go in there, and it's a numbers game, and realize, just like Raul said, it's like, hey, on average, you're going to have 12 interactions with that seller. And that's not dialing the number and getting a busy signal. It means you're going to have 12 conversations. They're going to probably tell you no. And, you know, deals might take 2 or 3 or 4 months to get a yes. But guys and gals, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit, right? I mean, if let's just run the math. If you had to talk to somebody 10 times and you make $12,000, that's $1,200 per phone call.
Yeah.
It's $1,200 per phone call. Like where else, what other business can you do to make $1,200 a phone call? And usually some of the phone calls might be 3 minutes because they hang up on you, right?
3 minutes is generous.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. And yeah, it's just so important to just, and like following the process. So, I mean, look, I'm not perfect, right? Like, you know, we have our business, but we have our ups and downs, just like anybody, right? And we're just always growing and learning. And something I've seen is just like, we have to do so much more sales and marketing now than we did 3-4 years ago to make probably even less money than we used to, or, you know, the same or less, right? It's all scale, right? Based on the marketing dollars. And just what I've seen is like, but the silver lining is, once you kind of get that process down, and once you know the sales process, the marketing process, the follow-up process, like it becomes a more like efficient, a more like enjoyable game, right? When you're like kind of like freestyling it and going on appointments, or, you know, answering the calls, and you don't really have a system. Let's say you're doing that and you're making money, but when you start not making money doing that, you're a mess. At least when you have a system and like a little process, when you start making money, or when you stop making money, you know why you stopped making money. Something in this, you know, 6-step process, for example, went wrong. And I think that's kind of like what you're getting at, is like, what advice would you give people like me that haven't been through the crash? It's like, you know, be really good at sales, understand, like treat this like a business. So kind of like what I got out of it, and hopefully what people can get out of it. It's like, yo, you got to like, this is a process, man, you know, enjoy it, and just take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps, you know?
Yeah. You know, the reason you and I, guys like you and me, I've made a lot of mistakes. Why I haven't gone through bankruptcy like 4 or 5 times in the past is literally just the grace of God. I like sharing this. It's like, because I've been doing this for so long, it's only been a handful of years for me to really crack the code. And it's like, if I could actually share a few things that say, for the people that have eyes to hear and ears, you know, eyes to see and ears to hear.
Yeah.
If I could save them, you know, if I can save them the pain and agony that I went through, and possible divorce and everything else. And so here's like big picture. One is, don't reinvent the wheel. Like, there's nothing new under the sun in real estate. All of this wholesaling has been an old school game. People like Jack Miller, who's long but, you know, buried, was the original guy. So nothing. And then it was Ron LeGrand and Russ Whitney and now, you know, and then Fan Merrill and others. Nothing new under the sun. So what you do is you just find people like Raul and you know, like Sean Terry and others. Find people that actually are really doing the business and just do what they do.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's number one. Number two is get good coaching. Be with like-minded guys. That's why I really like masterminds. Yeah. And then the other piece is, don't do everything yourself. Yeah. Look, I've said this, and for any of you, I have a podcast called realestateinvestor.com or realestateinvestor.com Huddle Call or Huddle Podcast. And if you ever follow me, it's like, hey, we're not real estate investors. So Warren Buffett says a real estate investor has money and they buy and they hold and they don't sell, or they 1031. That's a true real estate investor. And they take all the advantages of cash flow, and appreciation, depreciation, all the tax advantages. What we are, wholesalers, flippers, rehabbers, we're real estate business operators, business owners, CEOs. Yeah. And here's the thing, it's fundamentally different, because if we're a business owner, you have to operate like a business owner. And so if you're a CEO doing $10 an hour work, you're going to have a $10 bank account. It's really simple. So you really do have to figure out how to leverage people, just like other businesses, right? Is there a restaurant? Think about a restaurant where somebody is like, you know, basically the reception, you know, the whatever, and then they're taking the orders, and then they're running back and cooking the food, and then they're the dishwasher, right? It's like, if you're running a business, you got to run it as a business. And so this is, I see people, they try to save pennies that are costing them $10 or $100 bills.
Yeah.
It's like, You got to get really clear on what your value is. Like each of us should be making $250 to $1,000 an hour for our time. And you know this, Justin Colby said this. You and I were sitting in the room, and I was like, gosh, I actually built a tool. Everybody on this podcast, I'll give you in the show notes a place where you can go to actually look. You just type in a few numbers, like how much do you want to make this year in your bank? Okay. How many hours a week, and what is your value? Because what it does is it says, look, if you're worth $250 or $500 an hour, if you can get somebody else to do the work for less, you're getting a return on their money. And so most people understand how to leverage other people's money and borrow money, but leveraging other people's time. So if you could hire somebody for 10 or 20 bucks an hour, and they're doing all the work, you've just like you'll find that you'll save yourself like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 weeks a year of brain damage and pain, and give you a massive ROI. Right?